What about Ozzy Osbourne? I understand you have an Ozzy story of one of your times of photographing him.
Ozzy Osbourne was an amazing person. He had so many different sides to his personality, and I was fortunate enough to be able to experience two of them in the same night because I was photographing him for the pavilion in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I was getting ready to go out to the pit, and his publicist walked me out to the pit, and she told me that I may not want to photograph Ozzy. And I thought, oh, well, here comes the regular introduction to doing something of a famous person from their publicist, which is, a lot of times they don't want you to do anything. So I just ignored it and said, oh, yeah, why? And she said, because he's been throwing water out of a bucket on photographers that are photographing him in the pit on this tour. And so, I just don't think that maybe you would not like to photograph him. And I said, no, 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 I'm going to photograph him, thinking that's not going to happen to me. So we went on around the building and into the pit, and I'm standing there, and soon, the crowd is going crazy, waiting for Ozzy to come on. And soon I see him on the side of the stage, and he comes roaring out Ozzy style, and everybody's like having such an amazing time just seeing him. And, full on makeup, and the fashion was Ozzy, of course. And so I'm positioned right in the middle of the stage in the pit at the bottom of the stage. And so he sings a little bit of a song for song, and then I'm looking at him through my lens, and it's a different kind of perception when you're looking through the lens as compared to not looking through your lens. And so I'm looking at him up close, and all of a sudden I'm following him, and all of a sudden he's going off the stage over to the right, and I'm following him in with my long lens, and then he comes back, and I see that he has this bucket, like a janitorial sized bucket of water, and he's running across the stage, and it's sloshing out all over the stage and everything, and he comes right up to me. He throws it. And when he threw the bucket of water, and I realized, it was me he was aiming at, I stepped back about 3 steps, put my camera behind my back, and down came this flood of water. And he just starts laughing, as wild as he possibly could. He's just loving it. And he's singing at the same time. And I'm just like, okay, got it. And now next step is put your camera back in front of you and start photographing again. So that's what I did. It was like 1, 2, 3, it's all over, and now we're back to photographing. And so that was the wild side, because if he had actually hit me with this water, all of my camera equipment would have been ruined. So I was just pretty amazed at all that. And the other part of this is, and the other part of Ozzy is, after the show, we got permission from him for my son and I to go in and hang out with him backstage after the concert, because it was my son's, I believe it was his 10th birthday. And so Ozzy said, yes, of course you can do that. And we did. And he was sitting on the couch and talking and just, kind of calming down as much as Ozzy calms down. And my son's sitting there just kind of looking at him, with his makeup and his jewelry. And I mean, it was Ozzy. And anyway, so um, I started talking to him and saying, Ozzy, you shouldn't throw water at photographers, because that could ruin all of their equipment. And he just dies laughing. He's just, ha, 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 ha. This is so funny. And I just started, getting a little bit upset, saying, "God, you know what, Ozzy, that's not fair to the photographers," and sounding very, maternal. And I saw my son looking at me like, Mom, it's Ozzy Osbourne. And, and so I stopped trying to teach Ozzy a lesson, because how do you do that? Anyway, And so he was so sweet to my little boy, and just said, "It's your birthday, happy birthday," and just so gentle and kind. And I noticed that Sharon, his wife, said that about him, that he was wildly funny, but then he was such a sweet, sweet, sweet person, and that's why she fell in love with him. And I can understand that, and I feel very privileged to be able to see both sides of the professional side of Ozzy and the rock and roll side of Ozzy, and then the kind, gentle, uh, personal side of Ozzy, and how he treated my son on his birthday. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody has that uh, experience that I had to share with you right now, to let you know that he was such a magnificent person, and I am honored to have met him and hung out with him and photographed him. And I am so um, and so sad that he is no longer with us, but he is through his music and what he left to people on this planet.